as mentioned in the first video, something's in quadratic form is if it's written in this where it has a, and this has a u squared plus bu plus c for any numbers a, b, and c. Now, we could also say this is in quadratic form because it's a trinomial. So that's really more what it's talking about. And you see that is a trinomial, okay? That's the way to think about that. All right, so here's how we can solve this. So this is in trinomial form, so we'll say it's quadratic form, and we could determine a lot of stuff off this. The x to the fourth power tells us that we have this u shape like that, and it's positive, and so we also could say, since it's a fourth power, at most 4 zeros and 3 terms. And now let's look at the picture. And we do, in fact, have 1, 2, 3, and 4 zeros. There are 4 zeros, and it looks like 1, 2, 3 turns. So 4 real zeros and 3 turns. Those zeros, it looks like it carry a -1, +1, and something in between. I'm guessing maybe the square root of 3 plus a negative square root of 3 or some value like that. We could solve for it. You can go ahead and, if you like, try this one, but I will show you how you would solve. Is what you would do is you would factor this, but you would factor it treating it as if it were saying x squared squared like this minus 4 times x squared plus 3. All right, so what we would do is we would say, oh, my a is 1, and so I would do x method, and 3 would be on top. That's my a times c. b goes on bottom, which is -4. The factors are -3 and -1. Those multiply to be 3, but add to be -4. You remember how we take that first term and we split it in half? You remember how I told you that early on as far as powers go? That means I have x squared minus 3 times x squared minus 1. Each one of these are difference of squares, which means I can factor them one more time using our square root technique. This would factor as x plus the square root of 3 times x minus the square root of 3. And this one would factor as x plus 1 times x minus 1. So you're not confused. You might be thinking, where's the square root? Well, the square root of 1 is 1. So that would be our values. And that's how we would get the zeros. This would be square root of -3, positive square root of 3. This one would be -1. And this one would be +1. That's where we got those zeros.